So if you guys are okay with the word fuck, disclaimer number 2. We're going to talk about things that might possibly offend you guys, because here's the deal. You have to talk about yaoi if you're talking about fanfiction at some point, which means that you have to talk about homosexual stuff, which means that you have to talk about homosexual stuff in society, which means that you have to talk about the gay. And when it comes down to it, I understand this might be a touchy subject to someone. We assure you we are not homophobes or racists or sexists or anything like that. We have people of like every race and religion and sexuality in Disorganization 13. They're all here. So really, we're just trying to have an intelligent conversation. And along the same lines, if you are going to make a comment about, say, sexuality or politics or religion or something like that, try and make it mature, and if not mature, try to make it funny. Let's see. Is there any other disclaimer things we need to go over?
You said fuck.
Yeah, no, we said fuck, we said the sexuality stuff.
Didn't you disclaimer that fanfiction disclaimers are actually not legally valid in the slightest?
Shut up. So, alright, there's probably something else that will eventually offend you guys, but let's hope we don't actually hit that, you motherfuckers. Anyway, we're Disorganization 13, or at least we are a small sampling of Disorganization 13, as you have probably seen other people in our shirts walking around the convention. And we assure you that about half of those actually are in our organization. I'm Angelo. I'm the president. I work as a games journalist in my normal everyday life for 30ninjas.com. And you know, being a professional writer, this has taught me absolutely nothing about good fan fiction. Everything that I will tell you comes from my own meandering experience.
I'm Mike. I'm a physics grad student, so you know, professionally, I should be able to write good science. Nothing to do with fan fiction, but yeah. And one spends one's time on the internet, one learns what is crap and not. And, yeah, I know things. It happens. I learned how to do research. This actually helps.
We really don't have another mic. Hold on.
Oh, your mic. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, there it is.
Oh.
It was a very funny story.
Just stand at the podium.
Rock.
Hi, I'm Sharna. I do customer service. I hate you all, please don't call me ever. The reason I guess I'm on this panel is I've completed 120 manga series and decided I'd start reading fan fiction, and I too have looked into the face of Kusula when he is pathetic, and I hate it.
Hi, I'm Jason. I sold into the corporate machines. So, but before that, I was an editor for multiple books, and press. So that's, I mean, I know them more of a editorial part of the fan fiction. So.
Yeah. So as you can see, you know, aside from like none of us, none of us really are you know, professional fiction writers. You know, I'm a journalist, but we've all, you know, been around the fandom. We've experienced the fandom, and we've, you know, done a lot of study into it from a literary theory point of view. And that actually comes down to that actually comes down to the way that we do our panel. We don't actually look at fan fiction strictly from a technical standpoint. We look at it from a literary theory and sort of a history perspective. You know, what's good about fan fiction, what's bad about fan fiction, how does fan fiction help people, how does it harm people, you know, why is fan fiction the way that it is, what's the quality of it, so on and so forth. And as that, there are a couple rules that we always go over in our panel. Number one, we're not going to mention our pen names. Yeah, sure, just throw stuff at me. We're not going to mention our pen names or anything that we've done on fanfiction.net. We're also not going to mention the pen names of any other fanfiction, of the authors of any other fanfiction, or even the titles of any other fanfiction that we mention in this panel. We're not looking to make fun of people in particular. We're only looking to make fun of the things that they've written. So the important thing is that we're not trying to rip on authors here. We're just trying to give you examples. We are certainly not saying that we are better writers than you or any of the other fan fiction that we mentioned. We're here as analysts, not as writers. We have written fan fiction before, some that we are proud of, some that we are all of which we are not proud of. And so once again, we're not using us as examples of good writing. We're using other fan fiction as examples of good writing. And finally, we really want to stress this. This panel is interactive. We're not just looking to give you an hour-long lecture about fan fiction. Anyone can do that. At any point, feel free to shout shit, raise your hand, come up here and say something intelligent or utterly retarded. Like, we want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts on what we're saying, your thoughts on fan fiction, your thoughts on basically what makes it great and what makes it suck. Goku Spider-Man.
Why?
Because.
34!
No, it's a real fan fiction. Search for it on fanfiction.net. You'll find it. So those are our panel rules. But before we get into sort of like the discussion area, we should actually go over what fan fiction is, which is actually a more difficult question than people would think. So I'm going to turn it over to people who haven't talked very much, like the rest of the panel.
Okay.
Yeah. Do that thing.
Mike, you go first.
Well, if you look up the definition of fan fiction in, say, a dictionary, you will find it's more or less defined as something along the lines of fiction based on works by other people written by fans of said works, or something along those lines, which is terrible, vague, and honestly covers all kinds of things. Like, I don't know, Lord of the Rings, arguably.
Want to go for it better? I'm going to go, you want to jump into history?
Yeah, I think
Just
from
because.
here.
Hold on, no.
You bring us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You
No.
guys didn't even bring me out.
No, I'm like right here.
Anyway.
I was looking at that line and failing.
Anyway, what we wanted to do is also compare this to other things, such as comic books. How many comics have you read that have been written by the actual originator of the characters you are reading? Probably very few. When it comes down to it, comic books are shifted between all manners of different writers, and if those writers happen to be fans of the original works, now you're reading something that could be considered fan fiction. There are lots of examples of professional fan fiction out there. Stories that have won awards that were written by fans of the original works.
Do you have anyone in particular?
Well, we always use a study in Emerald, but that's getting a little boring now.
Well, it won a Hugo.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it's crossover fic.
Yeah, like okay, you explain a study in Emerald.
Okay, A Study in Emerald is a AU crossover fic between the Lovecraftian universe and Sherlock Holmes. It won a Hugo. It was written by Neil Gaiman. It's amazing. You should find a copy and read it. He thinks it's crap.
Neil Gaiman, Gaiman, whatever. He specifically wasn't totally. He wasn't totally confident in this story. So there are a whole bunch of people out there who are really confident in their fan fiction, and that might be a good thing, but just comparative here, Neil Gaiman won an award for a fan fiction that he thought was crap.
He won a Hugo.
So-
It's only the biggest award in science fiction.
So there are lots of examples of professionals out there that, write fan fiction, get paid for writing fan fiction. Fan fiction is not necessarily synonymous with amateur fiction, which is something that a lot of people don't think about. And we can go into the legal status of that, or we can just skip over that and go to history. And,
Well,
Illegal stuff for credit.
so something you should understand is that the vast majority of fan fiction is illegal. It is a violation of copyright law. This is because copyright law is insane. But the vast majority of authors don't give a flying fuck. And now, just recently, a few of them have actually gone out of their way to put forth a legal way for people to write fan fiction. The people I can think of, Jim Butcher, Mercedes Lackey, Cory Doctorow, but Cory Doctorow has like open sourced his entire work. But these people have put forth a license that you can put on any fan fiction you wrote for them, and as long as you don't try and sell it, you're legally safe. But yeah, most of the time the policy for fan fiction was don't ask, don't tell.
It's one of those things if we want to be very real with all of you, every time you write fiction, you are breaking the law.
Well,
But
it's
it's one of those things that people turn the other way for. Disorganization 13 would never support internet piracy.
Absolutely not.
Ever. But that's something that some of you might have done because it is very useful and an easy way to get music, games, and movies.
Yeah. And the other thing is, for fan fiction, as long as you're not trying to sell it, if you're not trying to make a profit, in most cases you're fine. Writing it for yourself is fine, though you may not own it once you write it, which is a little confusing. But the issue is publishing it, and the real issue is trying to sell it. So, don't be publishing a book full of your fan fiction without a lawyer.
That brings me to an important. Oh yes, someone up there
Okay, so,
breaking the law.
yeah, exactly. Like, what about when someone sells a fan fiction for a cause, like when the Haiti happened, there's a lot of fan fiction for Haiti, like $5.
When
for
the
all
Haiti
fan-
happened.
Well,
No, we're sorry.
The-
We're gonna stumble a lot too, but it's just this week we make fun of people to get through the
If-
day. Anyway, continue.
So is that selling, or is that?
Technically, yes,
Yes,
it's illegal.
That's technically
Um,
selling, and that's technically breaking the law.
Does anyone give a flying fuck? No.
No.
But the issue is not I'm going to sell some of my fan fiction for $5 for charity. The issue is I'm going to write a book that's totally that is essentially fan fiction and publish it, and screw someone out of their royalties is the idea. But
There have been examples of people who have gotten screwed trying to do something noble before. Really,
yeah.
when it comes down to it, it all has to deal with whether or not the original author is being a hard ass about it. They could see this and be like, no, that work belongs to me, and then they could pursue legal action. And whether or not they actually get anything from that legal action, I'm not trying to say that, oh my god, you guys are totally screwed.
No, you're
Breaking the
not.
law. So I'm not trying to say that, and you very well might be safe if anything comes to that. But there is that option, which is something to think about, even though it's probably not going to come to the book.
Almost certainly. The vast majority of authors don't care. The issue is their agents do. And so their agents won't let them make fan fiction of their works legal. Because they're agents and their job is to make money for people.